Hello, Levi. How are you?
Good, Roman. How you doing?
Good, good, good. Congratulations on your new movie, Before Dawn, arriving in theaters and on digital July 19. You were born and raised Australian, right? And your character,
Yes.
yeah, and your character in this
Yes.
film is Australian. Was it refreshing to
Mm.
be acting or embodying a character where you don't have to do American accent or change your accent to something else?
Yeah. It's funny actually because they've got the accents in Australia are very wide-ranging and like thankfully I've my accent now is sort of quite similar to what they used to be, like a little bit more uh I guess like British, I suppose, like that old Australian accent. But yeah, funnily enough, there's still a wide spanning
I was waiting for that shrimp on the Barbie. Well, yeah.
shrimp on the bab. You don't even say shrimp.
Yeah. Now, I remember you most for that Peter Pan movie and also that Disney movie, A Wrinkle in Time. When doing films like this before dawn that have such heavy, heavy themes, characters getting shot, characters getting killed, the devastation of war, the emotional toll it
Mhm.
takes on the soldiers. What was it like going through that process for you as an actor? Were you able to sort of detach yourself from that emotional impact once the director yells cut? Because there are some heavy scenes in this film. How are you able to shut that off after filming and come home okay?
Yes, yeah, yeah. I think the being alongside uh the lads who a few of them were already my friends, and as like the film kicked off, they all became good friends, and us being able to talk and just talk through the experience and talk through our characters and talk through everything was a big help then. Which would have, pretty similar to back in the day, like a lot of the trauma the Anzacs and other soldiers experienced was you know they talked amongst each other, and that was like the only lifeline they really had was the camaraderie and the friendships and everything like that. So yeah, that was big for me.
Of course, when we talk about war movies, the filmmakers would often try their best to reach the level of authenticity. The uniforms, the weapons,
Mhm.
the muddy, dirty trenches, they all have to look authentic. Talk to me about
Mhm.
wearing all those outfits and gears and being in those trenches. Was it
Yeah.
hard? Was the mud and the dirt often keeping you from moving around freely? How was that experience?
Oh yes. Yeah, especially if it rained the night before, the trenches would slope in and the mud would just build up to where you're sprinting, but you're just wading through. That's as fast as you can go, is like a light shuffle. And on top of the webbing and everything, like the munitions and the provisions you got attached to you. Yeah, no, it was the environment definitely elevated the experience and the immersion.
Was there a consultant on the set to consult you about how to properly carry the weapons, how to walk like a World War I soldier, stuff like that?
Yes, actually, there was we had a great selection of people because we had um the name is slipping my head right now, but basically people that do like reenactments of like the Anzacs experience in World War One. Like they have a group of people that all have uniforms and know the exact way to hold the rifle and like how to stand in the presence of a commanding officer. Like we had some great people on board for that, and a lot of them were background actors as well. So that just added to the immersion altogether because yeah, they were fully invested.
And it was very convincing, by the way. Let me ask you about your character, Jim Collins. I love talking about characters. He strikes me as a guy who starts out, idealistic, like any young
Mhm.
fellow. He has this heroic view of the world, looking for his purpose. But I think he's in over his head about the realities of war. What's your impression of Jim Collins? What was it about him that resonated with you when you read him on the pages and when you're playing him?
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. So Jim being, boy out in the country, out in the outback of Australia, farm boy, and seeing, like many of those young men did, seeing a chance for a new experience and spending time with your mates overseas, miles and miles away. Uh, that's a very real, from the diary entries that I'd read, that was very much um, a big portion of them were these people just looking for new experiences and not really knowing what they were getting into. And then once discovering that, it's sort of just like, when is this over? Like it's when will I see my family again? Like will all my mates make it home with me? And then for Jim, already being a pretty reserved guy, he's uh like a lot of men in the outback back then, very much reserved and like sort of seeing his father as like a stoic kind of guy. He hopes to mimic that, but you know, he feels these things and he sees these horrors, and yeah, it's all about that journey for him, and going from, you know, young man, even boy, to a man in a short span of time.
Well, I don't know if you know this fun fact, but your co-star Ed Oxenbould was also in a Disney movie 10 years ago, Alexander and the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so you have that connection
Yeah,
thing.
funny. Ed's a very good friend of mine. We worked on a film a few years back as well, and we just kept in contact since then. Uh, yeah, no, he's my best
Nice,
mate.
nice. Well, let me ask you then, what was it like for you as an actor, like having jumped doing, you know, when you were younger doing Disney movies, all these family-friendly movies, and now you're growing up, you're doing more adult themed stuff like Before Dawn. What was that like for you?
You know, I think every film sort of has its own journey and lessons to learn from it. And like an independent feature like Before Dawn versus like a Pan or a Wrinkle in Time with these massive budgets and these also very impressive sets as Before Dawn has. There's all very different stuff you can learn from it, especially like playing more adult roles. I was able to, you know, incorporate the lessons I've learned from when I was younger into the characters now, and yeah, no, it's all great. Everything builds on top of each other, which is I'm very lucky to have.
Speaking of lessons learned, I guess this is a deeper question. Uh, I don't know if you're a history buff or not, but I'm wondering, having done this project Before Dawn, having done this particular story, what do you think, if there is one, what do you think is the takeaway from a massive tragic event like World War One that you think is still relevant, a relevant lesson to be learned for today's generation?
Yeah. I mean, like even people learning about war now, like there's a strange romanticization of what it was like in the trenches. Like obviously there is the aspect of, you know, the camaraderie and everything, but the real horrors of it are like unfathomable. And yeah, we should learn our lessons from then and wish to not ever, you know, send our young people into the front lines again.
Definitely, definitely. It's a history that should never be repeated. Now, and lastly,
Exactly.
Levi, of course, I can't let you go without asking you about Craven the Hunter. I'm sure you probably already signed some NDA, but let me at least ask you, what was it like for you to finally be a part of a superhero or anti-hero movie, should I say, like Craven the Hunter?
It was brilliant. It was brilliant. I mean, I went on just after Before Dawn, so it was, you know, being in a Australian indie film and going to like both got the great aspects, but like being on a Sony Marvel picture, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. Russell's awesome. Like great to I've been lucky to work with a lot of great you know, iconic Australian actors, and he's another one that's just, you know, a great dude.
Well, I was told that it's gonna be rated R. How graphic or how violent is this movie really? What can we anticipate?
I don't know yet. I've not seen it. I've not seen it yet.
On the
I'm
pages, on the
excited.
script?
I can't say anything.
Well, can you say this at least? Since you played the young Sergey, the grown-up Sergey is played
Mhm,
by Aaron, did you have to
mhm.
mirror or mimic or emulate Aaron's mannerism in any way at all? Or did you kind of do your own
Yeah, well, I
thing?
mean, when you're playing like a younger version of a character, it's always a balancing act, you know, of like seeing what the older actor does, but also, you know, you're growing into sort of thing. So, um, yeah, it was like a mixed bag on that front.
Ah, I'm so excited about that movie. Yeah, I'm so excited. All right, for my fans at home, everybody go check out Before Dawn, arriving in theaters and on digital July 19. Levi, thank you so much for talking to me and
Thank
congratulations.
you, Rama. Cheers.